Hi there, this is Ebaldino, and this is my very first demo video of my very first plugin called SignBoard. And what SignBoard does is two major things. It lets you show a lot more information to your players when they look at signs or when they look at living entities. And it also runs commands. It will show more information when a player looks at a sign like this by showing a text board on the scoreboard area. You can customize that and write whatever you want on those 16 lines. And then it also runs commands. It can run commands when players look at a sign or when they look away from a sign, when they click a sign, and also when they look at an entity or away from a living entity, or when they attack and kill a living entity. So let me show you quickly all these features, and then I'll show you how to implement them using SignBoard. So the first thing is, as I've shown you, text boards can be attached to signs. So you create a text board and you attach it to a sign. You can also attach these text boards to living entities, and living entities can be anything that's alive, from a non-player character like this one, to players, to animals, and even mobs. The only thing is, if you attach them to mobs, remember that mobs despawn, and when they despawn, you will lose that connection. All right, the next thing is you can give out the text as a book. So when I look at a sign, it, the board pops up on the screen. I can tell it not to do that and rather give it out as a book. So if I look at this sign, I will get a book that contains the text that was originally on that text board. So what you do is you create a text board, and SignBoard takes care of the formatting to put all that text neatly into a book. Same thing with this non-player character here. If I look at it, I'm going to get another book and not the text board on the screen. See? And this book contains the text that was on that text board. All right. You can also run commands when a player clicks on a sign. So I'm going to click on this sign, and SignBoard is going to run a command that gives me a diamond sword, which is going to come in handy in a little while. I can run commands when a player looks at a sign. So when I look at this sign, keep an eye behind it, because a cobblestone block is going to appear. That's going to be placed there by a command that's going to be executed when I look at this sign. There it is. And similarly, so when I looked at it, the cobblestone block was placed. Now I'm going to look at this sign here that says run commands when player looks away from a sign. So I looked at the sign and nothing happened, only the text board appeared on the screen. But when I look away from the sign, see, the cobblestone block disappears. Now, these before and after commands also apply to living entities. So when I look at this llama here, there's a couple commands that say, what, never seen a talking llama? Well, now you have. And when I look away from it, I'm going to move the mouse. See, it runs a command that says, okay, catch you later. And living entities can also have on attack and on kill commands. So I'm going to attack this poor guy here who can't get away and see if it runs. Oh, get closer. See, and it says a command that responds with ouch every time I attack it. And if I attack it enough times and kill it, there's two commands that run. The one that says you killed me, here's a flower, and the other one that gives me this nice dandelion. So let's go back and see how all these things are done. Okay, and now I'm going to show you how to implement all that using SignBoard. First thing you should know is that SignBoard has a very well structured set of commands. The root command is /sb. If you type /sb, you get a list of the command categories. If you use /sb help full, you get a long list of every SignBoard command. If you use /sb how to, you get a step-by-step instruction on how to use SignBoard's basic features. If you use /sb board, sign, or entity, you get the subcommands for those categories. /sb board gives you all of the board commands. /sb sign gives you all of the sign the commands that you can use with signs, and entity gives you all the commands you can use with entities, right? Now, /sb variables /sb variables shows you all the variables that you can use on your text boards, right? SignBoard supports all of these internal variables plus placeholder API variables and MVDW placeholder variables. And finally, those last three commands in blue are admin commands I'm not going to get into. So the first thing to do is to create a new board. And I'm going to create a board with the command SB board new. And then the board name, I'm going to call it Demo1. Our board by the name already exists. I'm going to call it Demo. I'm going to delete it. /SB board delete Demo1. Okay, and now I can create it again. So /SB board new Demo1. And it says board Demo1 was created. You can edit its lines with that command. I could list let me do that, /SB board list Demo1, and it will list all of the lines of the board on the screen. Okay, and I can edit them one by one. What I want to do first is attach it to this board so I can see it on the screen. So /SB sign, I look at the sign, and I issue the command /SB sign attach, and then the board name, Demo1. And it shows on the screen immediately. Now if I want to edit the lines on that board, I can use that command /SB board, the board name, Demo1, and then the line number, line 1, no spaces. And say that on line 1, I want the player who gets this board, who sees the board on the screen, to see his name. So I'm going to use a variable called player name. And immediately it updates the board and it appears on the screen, right? Now, I can edit any one of the lines on the board in that same fashion. So text boards can be attached to living entities. This guy here doesn't have a board attached to it apparently, so I'm going to use the command /SB entity attach, and then the board name. I'm going to use a different board, entities, which is a board I already have created. And voila, we have the board on the screen. Now, I can also choose to give out the text as a book. So remember, in order for SignBoard to know what text to use, it needs to have a board. So I'm going to attach a board, SB sign attach. I'm going to attach a board to this sign. Right now, I don't want it to show the sign, so I'm going to toggle showing the sign off with /SB sign show board. And the board goes away. If I use the same command again, it comes back, and so on and so forth. Now, the other thing I can do is tell it to give out the text on that board as a book. So I use the command /SB sign give book. And immediately I get a book with that text, with that board's text in it. Right? Same thing goes for the non-player character over here. I'm going to attach a board to it. So /SB entity attach entities. Then I'm going to hide it. I'm going to use /SB, if I can write, show board to hide that. And I'm going to use /SB give book to give out that book when the player looks at the entity. So I got a book, right? Okay. Next is I can run commands when a player clicks on a sign. So again, I have to have a board attached to the sign. So /SB sign attach any board, Demo1, and hide that. So give me that show board command, thank you. Now I can say /SB, let me clear this, makes it cleaner. I can say /SB sign on click, and then whatever command I want executed. Now these commands will be executed under the player name, but as if the player were an OP, were admin, okay? So this will say, what is it? Give the player, P-name, a diamond sword, which is what we demoed before, diamond sword, and I just want one. So when I click on it, I get a diamond sword, thank you. Now let's move on. Now I can run commands when a player looks at a sign. So again, I'm going to attach a sign to this, attach a board to this sign. I'm going to SB sign show board hide it, right? Now, what command do I want to execute when I look at this? The command, okay, so I use /SB sign before. So this is before the player looks away. So we know he's already looked at the sign. And then I'm going to cheat a little bit here and copy this command from somewhere else. And, ooh. So here we go. /SB sign before, and then the command. The command simply says place a cobblestone block at a certain coordinate, right? And now when I look at the sign, there's my cobblestone block. The same thing goes when I look away from the sign. So I'm going to attach /SB sign attach demo1, and then /SB sign show board to hide it. Now the command I want to execute is /SB, actually the same as I used before, except it's not a before, it's an after. So after I look away from the sign, this command gets executed, and I don't want cobblestone anymore, I want air. Right? Yes. So now when I look away, I have to look at it, and when I look away, the block disappears. Thank you. So before and after commands also apply to living entities. So I'm going to look at this entity and say /SB entity before. And I think what I said was say what? Never seen a talking llama. And then I'm going to put a vertical bar to separate and commands and issue a different command, and that is going to say, well, now you have. So these are two separate commands, right? Now when I look at it, yes, yeah, of course, the entity must have a board. So forget that. /SB entity attach entities, right? Okay, now I can run that command. /SB entity before, and then my two commands. And when I look at it, I get the board and I get the commands executed, right? If I don't want to show the board, SB entity show board, but the commands still execute every time I look at the llama, right? So let's move on. I also have an after command. Now living entities also have on attack and on kill commands. So this guy here is going to get first a board, /SB entity attach, and then the board name is entities. And then I'm going to say /SB entity show board because I don't want to show it. And then I want to say /SB entity on attack. And what will it do on attack? It will say ouch. Okay, let me set it to day so we get a little bit more light. Okay, and I can also have an /SB entity on kill. Now I'm going to have two commands, one that says, say, you killed me. Here's a flower. And vertical bar to separate a different command, and the new command will be give player name a flower 1. Now Okay, so when I attack this guy, he says ouch and ouch. And when he dies, he says, you killed me, here's our flower, and I got a flower. All right, so that's all of the abilities of SignBoard. Oh yeah, one thing I didn't mention, but I should, is that SignBoard can edit signs. So if I'm looking at a sign and I say, okay, I want to change just one line in the sign without having to break the sign and rewrite it over again, I can just say SB sign and then the line I want to change. So I want to change line 1 to say E Baldino. And immediately it changes. That way you can edit the signs on a line, the lines on a sign without having to break the sign. It's very, very handy. So in conclusion, yeah, SignBoard has some amazing features. You can attach text boards to signs. You can attach text boards to entities. You can give out board text as books. You can run commands by looking at signs or entities. You can run commands by looking away from signs or entities. You can run commands by clicking on signs and entities. You can run commands when an entity is killed. You can also edit the lines directly on signs. And SignBoard supports color codes and all sorts of variables. Plus, it has a great help system, and it has an awesome wiki. The wiki address you can get when you say /sb, and right on the second line it says more help at, and if you go to that address, you will see our wiki. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you like SignBoard and let me know what you think of it. Thank you. Bye-bye.